He knew before she ever said a word, and that not telling became the closest thing to intimacy he'd ever had. I'd been fixing her porch light for 3 weeks before I let myself admit I was inventing reasons to come back. Mira lived 2 doors down, in the house with the blue shutters, and she always answered in bare feet with a mug she never drank from, just held, like it gave her hands something to do besides not touching me. That Tuesday, the light finally worked. I should have left. "Stay for coffee," she said, not looking at me. "It's the least I can do." I knew about him by then. The car that wasn't hers, parked 2 streets over on Thursday nights. The way she checked her phone twice before she smiled at anything. I hadn't said a word. Some part of me had decided that knowing and staying quiet was its own kind of closeness, like I was the only one who saw her clearly, mess and all, and that made me hers in a way he wasn't. We sat on the porch step. She was close enough that our shoulders almost touched, and neither of us moved away. "You always look at me like you're about to say something," she said. "Maybe I am." Her mug had gone cold in her hands. She finally drank from it anyway, like she needed something to do with her mouth besides ask what I meant. "Elias. Just my name." Careful. Like she already knew this was the moment everything tipped. I didn't answer. I just reached over and took the mug from her hands, set it down, and didn't let go of her fingers after. She didn't pull her hand back. That was the part one kept turning over later, not that I'd taken it, but that she let me. "You shouldn't do that," she said, but her voice didn't have any weight behind it. "Which part?" "Any of it." She almost laughed, the kind that isn't about anything funny. "I'm 46, Elias. I have a mortgage. I have a—" She stopped herself before the word came out, and I watched her decide not to say his name. I knew the shape of what she wasn't saying. I'd seen the car. I'd seen her come home some nights and sit in her driveway for 10 minutes before she went inside, like she needed to rehearse being fine. I never asked. Some nights I told myself that was kindness. Other nights I knew it was something closer to hunger. I liked being the one who knew and said nothing. It made the space between us feel like mine. "You always do this," she said quietly. "Do what?" "Look at me like I'm not a mess." She turned her mug in her hands, not drinking, just needing the motion. "I am one. Right now. I'm a whole mess, and you're sitting on my porch step like you've got nowhere better to be." "I don't." That got her to look at me. Really look, the kind of look that goes on a half-second too long and both people notice it happening and neither one ends it. "Don't say things like that," she said, but her hand found my arm, just above the elbow, fingers curling loose into my sleeve like she wasn't sure she meant to reach at all. "Stay a while longer," she said. "Just, don't go yet." I should have told her I already knew everything. I stayed. Her hand was still on my arm, and neither of us moved to fix that. "Elias." She said my name like she was testing whether it still meant what it used to. "If I ask you something, will you actually answer me?" "Depends what it is." "Why do you keep coming back?" "The light's fixed." "Has been for an hour." Her thumb moved once against my sleeve, small, maybe not even on purpose. You didn't have to stay for coffee. I opened my mouth to say something easy, neighborly, no big deal, you make good coffee, and none of it came out. What came out instead was quieter than I meant it to be. I don't know how to explain it without it sounding wrong. Try. Her phone buzzed on the step between us, face up, and I saw the name before she flipped it over. Not Myra's phone acting innocent, but her hand moving fast, like she didn't want me to see it and didn't want to explain it either. She didn't answer it. She let it ring out, watching me the whole time like she was daring me to ask. I didn't ask. You're not going to say anything about that, she said. Not quite a question. Not my business. That's not an answer. She was closer now, or I couldn't tell anymore who had moved. Her eyes went to my mouth for less than a second, then back up, and I felt that look land somewhere under my ribs. Elias, if you're going to say something, say it now. Before I. The porch light flickered above us, the one I'd just fixed, and neither of us laughed. Before I what? I said. She didn't answer right away. The light steadied above us, and in that flat yellow glow I could see she'd stopped pretending to hold the mug like a prop. It just sat forgotten on the step, tipping slightly against her foot. I keep telling myself this is nothing, she said. You fixing things around my house. Me making coffee you don't drink either, by the way, you've let it go cold every time. A short breath, not quite a laugh. I noticed that. I notice everything about you, Elias, and I hate how much I've let myself notice. Mira. No, let me. She pressed her palm flat against her knee like she needed an anchor. I know about the 6 months. I know you know about him. I've known you knew since the week you started coming around more than the porch light needed you to. Her voice cracked unknown, just barely, like she'd been carrying the sentence a long time and it had gotten heavy. You never said anything. Why didn't you ever say anything? I could have lied. Told her I hadn't noticed, hadn't pieced it together, hadn't lain awake some nights turning it over like a stone in my pocket. Because saying something meant admitting why I was paying attention, I said. And I wasn't ready to hear what that made me. She went still. Really still, the kind where a person stops breathing without meaning to. What does it make you? She said, barely above a whisper. I didn't answer. I just looked at her, and let her watch me not look away. Her hand moved first, up, not away, fingers grazing my jaw like she was checking I was real. I almost let it happen, almost closed that last half-inch of nothing between us. Then headlights swept across the yard. Mira flinched back so hard the mug finally tipped and shattered on the step, and for a second neither of us moved to pick it up. The car idled at the curb. His car, the one from Thursday nights, except it was Tuesday, and he wasn't supposed to be here. That's not possible, she said, more to herself than to me. He's supposed to be in Denver until. The driver's door opened. She stood up so fast her knee caught the porch rail. Go inside, I said. Elias, don't. I'm not doing anything. I'm telling you to go inside before this turns into something neither of us gets to choose how it ends. She hesitated on the top step, looking back at me with an expression I hadn't seen on her yet, not guilt, not fear. Something closer to relief, like she'd been waiting 6 months for someone to finally take a decision out of her hands. "You knew this whole time," she said. "Everything. The nights, the car, all of it." "Yeah. And you stayed anyway." "I stayed because," I said. "Not anyway. Because." That landed different than I expected. I watched it land, watched something in her face come loose that had been held tight for longer than 6 months, maybe years, maybe since before I ever showed up with a ladder and an excuse. The man on the curb called her name. She didn't move toward him. She moved toward me. He called her name a second time, sharper. She still didn't turn around. "Mira." His voice again, closer now, footsteps on the walk. "Who is this?" She stopped 1 step above me, close enough that I could see her hands weren't steady, and for the first time all night she looked at me instead of past me. "I need you to know I'm not doing this to get back at anyone," she said, low, "just for me. If I do this right now, it has to be because of you. Not because of him. I never needed it to be about him. I know." Her breath caught. "That's the problem. You never made me choose between 2 bad options. You just kept showing up and fixing things and not asking for anything, and I don't know what to do with a person who doesn't want anything from me." "I want plenty from you," I said. "I just didn't think I was allowed to say it while you were still someone else's unfinished business." Behind her, he said her name a 3rd time, and this time there was nothing left to hide behind, no ladder, no porch light, no reason for me to still be standing there except the real one. She looked back at him, then at me, and something in her shoulders finally let go, like she'd been holding a held breath for 6 months and had just remembered how to put it down. "I'm sorry," she called to him, not unkindly. She reached for my hand. This time neither of us hesitated. He left. Not in a scene, no shouting, no scattered gravel under tires. He just stood on the walk for a while, looking at the 2 of us on the step, and then he said, "Okay," quiet, like a man setting something down he'd been carrying wrong the whole time. Then he got back in his car and drove off, and that was the end of that. Mira didn't watch him go. She was still holding my hand. 6 months, she said, once the taillights were gone. 6 months of you knowing, and me pretending you didn't, and both of us too scared to say the thing that would have fixed it in 1 sentence. Would it have, though? If I'd said something in month 1? She thought about that longer than I expected. No, she admitted. I wasn't ready in month 1. I don't think I was ready until tonight, honestly. I needed the time to get sick of lying to myself before I could stop. So the 6 months weren't wasted. No. She almost smiled. They were just slow. There's a difference. I picked the broken mug pieces off the step while she watched, and when I stood back up she didn't step away, she stayed close, like she'd finally stopped calculating the distance between us. For what it's worth, I said, I never once thought of you as a mess. I know, she said. That was always the problem. And the whole point. We didn't say anything else that night that needed saying. Some things you don't announce, you just stop pretending they aren't already true, and let the porch light do the rest. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? ****